to be able to be here with you today and share some thoughts about child welfare. I think in your brochure it talks about some historical frame around the work. In Barbara's introduction of me, she talks about me addressing love, opportunity, and hope. We'll bring it all together. It could be worse, Barbara. I was actually introduced in Miami a couple of years ago to give a presentation, and I was introduced to do a completely different presentation. And the introduction said, and he has spent so much time preparing for us today. And I'm thinking, oh my God, what am I going to say about this? So I just gave the speech I was planning on giving. And the first question from the audience was, well, since you were supposed to speak on this topic, could you make a couple of observations about that for us? So this worked out pretty well, I think. But congratulations, Barbara, and the whole staff at the center for the work that you do. Obviously, you're held in high regard by the leadership of the university, but also held in high regard by the field. And the issues that you put forward and how you created this platform is really pretty remarkable. So I respect what you're doing on the cutting edge of getting better outcomes for kids in a variety of domains. So I think I've been asked to join you today partly because of my background, or maybe largely because of my background on juvenile justice and child welfare issues and my time that I spent in Miami as a prosecutor at DOJ, as indicated OJJDP, and as president of the Child Welfare League of America, where in each instance in these positions, my work really intersected with a variety of systems: child welfare, juvenile justice, behavioral health, both substance abuse and mental health, education, housing, job training, systems on which in one form or another I will be addressing today. But I also stand before you, as Barbara indicated, as a research professor and center director at Georgetown University. And even after 3 years, this is still a fairly new position and role for me in my career, one I'm still getting used to. How many have had changes in career that you've experienced where you kind of shifted around? And yeah, so you know it's putting on a new hat. I took this job about 6 months later. I was grading papers of my students on an airplane, and the person sitting next to me said, so what do you do for a living? I see you're doing something here. Are you a professor? And I said, no. And then I caught myself literally 3 seconds later and said, well, how do you go back and say, oh, no, I am a professor. I really am. So the change in identity isn't necessarily always that easy. So when I took the job, my wife and children presented me with some quotations that they wanted me to read, understanding the responsibilities that I was taking on in my new role in academia. So I want to share these with you because they really stuck. And being in an academic environment, I think it's appropriate that I would share these quotations that put me on guard in terms of my new role and responsibility. So the first quote was from Marcel Achard, and it was, when I give a lecture, I accept that people will look at their watches, but it is too much to bear when they look at their watch and then hold it to their ear to see if it's still working. The second quote was from Albert Camus. Some people talk in their sleep. Lectures talk while others sleep. Here's one from Richard Pratt. A university professor set an examination question in which he asked, what is the difference between ignorance and apathy? And was compelled to give a student an A+ who answers simply and succinctly, I don't know and I don't care. But this one from Socrates is the one I think they really wanted me to hear, and I think I enjoyed the most. I cannot teach anybody anything. I can only help them to think. And I think today that's what my goal is, to help us think about how we can create a stronger and smarter child welfare system, learning from that history, one that effectively addresses the basic needs of the young people who have been abused or neglected, who come into our attention through our child welfare system, and those needs are around safety, permanency, and well-being. And I truly believe that despite the difficult budget times that we're experiencing, and that we're facing across the country, not just here in Baltimore and Maryland, that we're primed to move to the next level of work on both a practice and policy level. The work in which many of you in this room have been engaged really has set the stage for this to happen. Whether you are agency and system representatives, the courts, the judiciary, advocates, consumers, foundation representatives, academics, and the provider community, you've all raised the bar in one form or another for child welfare practice for the children, youth, and families in this community and communities around the state. This is not to say that there isn't a lot more to be done, because there is, but our knowledge is deeper than it has ever been, and we've begun moving in what I think is a very positive direction. And this work has been done by improving practice within the child welfare system, as well as I think what Barbara really foreshadowed